I seen pictures of Martin sitting in Elijah's living room having a conversation. Who your cousin, sweetie? So Martin discovered that he was being used or misused. There's nothing wrong with being used. It's when you misuse that it's a problem. People always talking about, she used me. No, not used. Misuse. Because if you used for what you worth in your own proper context, that's a good thing. When you misuse, that means taking advantage of and putting the position out of context, that's a bad thing. So understand, oh yeah, Vernon Johns was the truth. And he was actually my mama's cousin. He was my mama's cousin too. Well, it was Becky, my cousin too. But they was related on her father's side, the Johns. My mother's last name was Johns all the way up until she married my father. Right? So that gave me a special interest in his case. Matter of fact, for those who want to know who he is, James Earl Jones played him in the movie about Vernon John. But I knew about him before I seen the movie. But I seen the movie years after it was made too. But I had learned about him studying Martin. I wanted to know what happened to the guy that preceded him. We just disappeared. They kicked him out of the church because he was too militant. So then he started. We might be, sweetie. We traced back to Louisiana, right? The Johns. My grandfather, Hezekiah from he from Macomb, Mississippi. That was his territory, and they divided his land up. Get out of here, Beulah. That was Aunt B. That was my mama's stepmother. So apparently we cousins on our motherfucker. So you gonna have to inbox me so we can put this shit all the way together. Cause Miss B was Aunt Betty's mother. Yep. So anyway, I'm gonna go back into this. So once we get into the 70s, Panthers moving now, right? This is when they start infiltrating what we call gangs. We was tribing up in the late 50s. My mother was what you call a outlaw vice lord biker on the west side of Chicago. This was before you had all of these spin-off groups. So they instituted a cultural thing that we do. It's called a razzle-dazzle or a flea flicker in football. It's the same thing. Everybody got the ball. We in the huddle. Now scatter. We don't know who got the ball, but one of these niggas got the ball. So my mama sent cousins and sisters to California. She kept some in Chicago. She sent some stayed in Mississippi and Louisiana. Then she ended up moving to Michigan with my father. So this was to keep her sons out of the fray in the fight for power. Because there is no fight for power when we hear. We know where the power goes. We just gonna put it in the right place. If you make something work the way it's supposed to work, it'll last longer and work better than if you use it for something it wasn't meant for. You say your whole family from Macomb? Shit, that's a good chance we related. So there's a tribe of Mississippians called Shoshone. Too Short is tied to that tribe, and the tribal chief actually was my first girlfriend's father, named Sonny Shaw. He was the chief, but he was here. Anyway, the Shaw clan is Shoshone, indigenous Americans. And the Washington family is the Washita. It's the same name changed to fit the English language. So if your last name is Washington, you're a Washita who is named after George Washington for conquering the Washita or Wichita. Wichita, Kansas was a stronghold, right? So now we starting to get to the Hall of Records. Now we starting to get to the Halls of Records. Once we get to the Hall of Records, they can't, that's it. So the records is kept. It's just, are we wise enough to get the records back? Leonard mean lion. My uncle named Leonard too, by the way. Oh, the Sparks, yeah. So we got the Sparks up here. Sister Sparks and Brother Sparks. They got officers as they offspring up here in Pontiac. So the Sparks family come from down there. They Brother Sparks was a dog man. He was teaching me some dog stuff. Okay, so you want to know how to get the records. First of all, you got to know where the records at. The records is in the mountain. And the records is not just records, they're what you call your trust documents. And this is where our money at. You have to be agreed to publicly declare ownership of the records as a tribal grid on the land. You have to have what you call historical works to verify your position. Dane Calloway, Malachi York have those indigenous works where they can say, I'm the grid on the land, and this is where our records is in just outside of Kansas City, Kansas. Right? So I talked about it on a Zoom call the other day. But what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to try to figure out how to post clips from it so y'all know exactly where the records is to the trust. When you get the records to the trust, is the records to the money. Because all of our wealth is held in the trust. And the trust is owned by the Catholic Church by papal bulls. When you understand which papal bulls, which I already went through that, but the papal bulls is what kept us separated from our family's wealth, what we call the royal coffers. The royal coffers is all this shit you seen in the museum that they said from Mexico and Egypt and Tibet. That's our shit. But the Catholic Church said we was imbeciles and non-functional as chieftains, and therefore we did not have the ability to hold our own wealth. So they put us on an allowance plan, right? When they put us on the allowance plan, then we had to earn an allowance by working under a slave system until Master gave us a check at the end of the week. We never did that. In the indigenous land, every job was per diem, by the day or by the job. This job paid $400. When you're done, I'm going to give you $400, period. Or if it wasn't that way, it was if you work with me today, I'm going to give you $400 for today's labor. Whatever we do, don't matter. At the end of the day, when you go home, I'm going to give you $400. No credits. Credit and debt is how they trapped us in slavery. Right? And they only did it using a penal system code of token and reward. What we think is money is not money. It's fiat, which means it's something somebody said had value, but it has no value. So Jones is also Johns, and the Johns, they are kindred clans. Jones and Johns is the same last name in the indigenous language. It's just split in English to tell you that y'all two different people. It's also Jonas, Jonas, and by blood linkage, you are Johnsons, right? The sons of John, and Jones sons, which is the sons of Joneses, and all of these names. Our culture is tied up in the last names because they couldn't just take it, right? The last name I got from my father, Hayes, is really a short form of Hayoka. And it's pronounced in the indigenous tongue as Haya. So when you hear them dancing around the fire saying, hey, hey, they calling for the Hayoka priests, right? But they can't call for a Hayoka priest unless they call for him a counterpart, right? So now you were seeing why they were saying it's a voodoo song, oh yeah, yemaya, oh yeah, yemaya. It's the old songs. It's all of our shit. The tailors were the families that made clothes. There was a whole priesthood of tailors. They was literally tailors. That's what they did as a profession. The Brown clan originate in what you call the Northwest Territory in the Ohio Valley. That's why the Native American Cleveland is named after his name Cleveland Browns is because they are Ohio tribe from the Northwest Territories. The cannons were part of a military contingent who literally controlled the cannons. Now the cannons in Chicago are a group of boosters, or what we would call them in Eurocentric, they thieves, but they only steal high-end shit, like cars and boats and shit. But the cannons don't play. Them the wrong motherfuckers to fuck with. And yep, I got people in Yazoo, Mississippi. Oh, John Sally know what's up. He know what's up with the fam. I didn't see him talk about it before. He know he want us. Same as Isaiah Thomas. He keep telling these motherfuckers we ain't come on no ship. Look, freelance specialists, we don't care how hard it takes us to get our shit back as long as we're willing to fight for it. We ain't backing down. We don't expect them motherfuckers to go easy and give it up easy, because if it was easy, it'd have been done already. Yes, but any movie you see with a museum scene, listen. Everything in the museum scene is telling you something about your history. Everything in the museum movie. Any movie got something to do with a museum. It's a secret in there about your history. Look, all of the Freedom of Information Act request is asking your enemy to give you your shit. They're only going to give you what they want you to have. But when you understand the divine right of kings, and all you have to do is identify the location of your records, you just captured your records. And this is by the grandfather clause. This is the law that they can't usurp. It's the laws of Ma'at. The ancient code of kings is written out of the laws of Ma'at, based off the laws of nature. Right? We codified it in Kemet, in the Mississippi Delta, in the Aztec pyramids, in the Mayan pyramids. We codified that shit. We wrote it down so that in case something happened where we lost it, we can find it. So it's still there. It's in the hieroglyphics. The whole story is there. Debt is the gun, credit is the bullet. Speak that shit. Yep, monopoly money. Yeah. So Charles is the last name Charles that's the Virginia clans. And study Charleston, Virginia, how it got its name, and you would trace your clan back to how they got overthrown. Credit is the bullet, discharge is the gun. Speak that shit. Yep. So I got blessed in on the godmother knock off of Miss Thompson, who was out of Tupelo, Mississippi. Anybody last name Ivory comes from a matriarchal clan, and the ivory is the symbol for the elephant. The Carters are the ones who used to own the buggies. Y'all would be taxi drivers in this era. I'll put it that way. I'm going to save this live. I'm about done. I'm just going through here and making sure it's like the Colemans. The Colemans were actual miners who have first right to all of the coal wealth generated on the land since we've been in bondage. It's all counted for. All of the coal that's been sold is going to be y'all family wealth. The Brooks come from the Creek Indian tribe as a spinoff. That's why they call it a brook, because it's a creek. And the Creek and the Cree are related tribes, but they different tribes because they had different tribal leadership at different times. The Tucker clan is an old clan that goes way back. And the Tucker automobile was shut down because he was a mulatto related to the Tucker clan, and they wasn't allowing us or anybody related to us to come up with their own shit. The Murrays came from Ireland in a student exchange program under the orders of Queen Scotta. I don't know every name off the top of my head, but it wouldn't take me long to figure a lot of them out. So if I don't mention the name that you bring up that I see, is because that one ain't on the top of my head. But if something stand out, or if somebody tell me to tell them, then I'll speak on it. So the Jenkins clan were kindred to what we call the genies or the jinn. The genies were a group of women who controlled the fire element. They was firebenders. That's all. All that Islamic perturbability and over sensationalism of the jinn, and you can't figure the jinn out. It's some bullshit. The genies were magicians. And they call one of the genie by itself is a jinn. That's it. They could grant wishes because they control desire of the heart. It's just that simple. And the desire is the fire that they control. Tina Marie, Rick James, fire and desire. McCullen is also one of the names from the Orisha or the Irish. Everybody from the land, on the land, is related.